All right, call the May 12th Municipal Airport Authority meeting to order. You all received the minutes of the regular meeting held April 28th, 2020. Are there any revisions or corrections to the minute? Okay, hearing none, the minutes stand approved as printed. Number 2, approve the airport vouchers totaling $49,002.82.
I'd so move.
So moved?
And second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the airport vouchers totaling $49,002.82. Roll call vote.
Lind.
Aye.
Hagen. Bosworth.
Aye.
Hogan.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye.
Why don't you ask to make sure they can hear us before?
Can everybody hear us here? Give me a thumbs up. Can you guys hear? Okay, good. And if I don't see you, a yes would be great. Thank you. Good.
We're good.
Oh, by the way, welcome to all of you on Zoom out there. All right. Number 3, approve the individual vouchers as follows, A through F.
Motion to approve all is listed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Lind.
Aye.
Hagen.
Aye.
Bosworth.
Aye.
Hogan.
Aye.
Lind.
Aye. Let's see, number 4, receive the bid tabulation and recommendation of the award from Mead and Hunt for the Fargo apron expansion.
Jeff Klein, you're online.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right. All of you should have received a copy of the bid tabulation in your packets. We had our bid opening on April 30th for the cargo apron, and we received 4 bids. One from KPH, one from Northern Improvements. Stratus Corporation submitted a bid, and Border State submitted a bid. Northern Improvement was the low bidder with a bid of $15,941,638.40. Border State's, their bid was rejected because they didn't include the required DVE information in their bid security envelope. So, being that it's a federal project, there's disadvantaged business enterprise requirements. The project had a goal of 3.3%, and the contractor is supposed to, at the time of the bid opening, supply documentation identifying that here's our letter of intent saying that we meet the goal, or supplying good faith efforts that they went out and solicited the bids from an approved list of DVE subcontractors. So, and then at the time of the bid, they're supposed to acknowledge the addendum, have the bid security in the bid security envelope, have the DVE information in the bid security envelope, and then have their North Dakota contractor's license in the bid security envelope. It was all laid out in the project specifications. We talked about it at the pre-bid meeting on how to pay particular attention to all the requirements for submitting their bid. I had included minutes from the pre-bid meeting in addendum 1, reiterating everything again about the bid submittal. They acknowledged the addendum, and they still didn't put the DV information in the bid security envelope. So it was rejected, and then their sealed bid was returned to them. I went back and double checked all of Northern Improvement's documentation to make sure that they had everything there, and they were in compliance with the specifications. So I had written Sean an email saying that, we recommend that the airport authority award the contract to Northern Improvement. So.
Any questions?
Motion to approve the bid tabulation and low bidder as
Okay.
it sits.
I'll second it.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve Northern Improvement Company for the cargo apron expansion, phase 4. Any discussion or questions or further information that you'd like to share?
Got good bids. The engineer was a high bidder, so that was good.
Yeah, I like that. I know, what was it? That's good. That's okay. It looks like we're getting a good deal. Yeah, 17 or 18. All right. Roll call vote?
Lind?
Aye.
Hingen?
Aye.
Cosgrove?
Aye.
Haugen?
Aye.
Lind?
Aye. Motion approved.
Hey, Tammy, can I make one more comment?
Yes.
Just more information purposes on it.
Yep.
So Sean and I had a call with the FAA last week, and they want us to hold off on the applications for the project as of now. Hopefully we can get those together by end of this week or first part of next. But the airport authority had received, there's going to be 2 grants for the project. The airport authority had received $10 million of supplemental funding for the project. And then there's a separate pot of money of roughly $6.3 million of AIP entitlement. The FAA is trying to get more supplemental funding for the project, and until they find out exactly how much they can get, if any at all, they want us to hold off on the applications because we have to be very diligent on how we break out all the project costs to get them into the proper grants for grant purposes as well as the airport's accounting purposes. So hopefully we'll have good news from the FAA by the end of the week here.
Yeah, it's a 2-year project, so the contractor isn't scheduled to start until after the 4th of July. The completion date is early September of 2021, which is trying to coincide with the construction of the new UPS facility, which now they're thinking they're going to be done maybe in July of next year, but we'll see. We had met with UPS here in this room some time ago to set out our contract time frame, and I think they found out that their construction project is going to take them significantly less time than what they had estimated. But our project, like I say, hopefully we can get all the concrete in place in that July-August time frame, go through the cure time, and be ready for a late August, early September start.
Further questions or discussion?
Just to mention that the air show, if we have one, is going to be in July 2021.
Right.
It would be nice to
Ooh.
be vacant UPS from the South GA ramp.
We worked around it last time, it seemed to work, but
I know.
they may be done with their facility in late July, but the amount of concrete that needs to be poured in the cure time, it won't be ready for aircraft. They can move into the facility, but they wouldn't be able to park aircraft down there for some time.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Jeff. Let's see, number 5, receive bid tabulations and recommendation of award from Mead and Hunt for car rental ready lot reconstruction.
All right, John Scraper, Mead and Hunt, you're online.
John?
Yes, sir. On April 30th, we opened bids for the rental car ready lot. We had 3 bidders: Northern Improvement, FM Asphalt, and Border States Paving. Northern Improvement had the low bid at $572,199.35. They were under the engineer's estimate, and their bids were compliant with our instructions and met all the requirements. So we recommend award to Northern Improvement Company.
Great. Again, I like that it's under the engineer's estimate. That's good. Are there any questions, or would somebody like to put a motion on the floor?
Madam Chair, motion to approve the low bidder.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the low bidder of Northern Improvement Company for the rental car ready lot reconstruction. Any other discussion?
Yeah, we'll work with the car rental agencies, the parking lot, and the contractor in Mead and Hunt to, because of the lack of parking demand out in our parking lot, there were some things that were going to be done out there to isolate car rental vehicles. We may be looking at modifying some of that to change order out some of the work, possibly to even save some more dollars, but we'll work with the contractor in Mead and Hunt and the SB Plus to make that happen.
When do you anticipate this starting?
John, what's your estimated start date? Is it going to be mid to late June?
We're going to start after the 4th of July to avoid the 4th of July rush, but we can work with Northern and get started earlier if that would please the airport.
We'd like to put asphalt down when it's really hot out, so that's the best
Oh,
conditions
okay.
for it. So it'll be a July project.
Okay.
So get a motion in a second.
Roll call vote?
Lynn?
Aye.
Hingen?
Aye.
Cosgrove?
Aye.
Haugen?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye. Motion approved. Okay, number 6, receive communication from JP Development regarding sublease of hangar at 1631 19th Avenue North.
Okay, and I think, Jim Sweeney, are you on the line? See Fargo Jet Center on there?
Yes, I am.
All right, so this facility is the former Vic's Aircraft Sales on 19th Avenue North, right next to the Fargo Air Museum, and you can see that Fargo Jet Center is going through some pretty extensive remodeling to the facility. I believe the hangar door, Jim said it would be delivered sometime in the next few days?
Yeah, this week or next.
Okay, so they have found a renter. We've been working with Mr. Nickel to possibly construct a hangar up in our North General Aviation area, but then they found out about this hangar here and have come to terms with Fargo Jet Center to lease this facility. And how many aircraft does Joel have?
2 small aircraft.
Okay, so it'll be a good use for the facility for his own private use. And anything else to add, Jim?
No, that's all.
Any questions? Can we do a roll call vote? Or do we
Voice
need a
vote.
vote? What? Voice vote.
Sorry.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion to approve the sublease.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the sublease as noted in number 6. Voice vote?
Lind?
Aye.
Hagan?
Aye.
Cosgrove?
Aye.
Haugen?
Aye.
Lind?
Aye. Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you. Okay, Sean, a CARES grant update.
Okay, so on May 5th, we have the final digital signature for our CARES grant that the FAA had issued to us in the amount of $21,637,515. And we accepted the grant to be used for operating expenses. There were 3 options for airports on the grants. The option that we selected is what was highly recommended from the DOT and the FAA administrator right down through the regional and district offices. And the other option was to take it all for capital projects. The third option was to split it between operating and capital projects. We chose to take it all in operating expenses, which I believe about 99% of the airports in the country did that were in line for a CARES grant. So the grant will reimburse us for operational expenses starting on for expenses incurred on or after January 20th of 2020. And we have 1,460 calendar days from the date that we accepted the grant, which was officially on May 5th, to spend those funds. I worked with Jamie Bullock from the City Finance Department yesterday to start the first draw for the grant. The funds were loaded for us at noon on Sunday to start the draw. So the first draw will be to reimburse ourselves for non-firefighter payrolls number 3 through 10 and the benefits January through April that are qualified in that January 20th timeline. The first draw should be around $535,000. Once that is done and complete, because the FAA is adapting to some new procedures for this grant as opposed to an AIP grant, an airport grant, we'll get through this process first, see how that transaction goes, get the money in the account, then we'll go through and take out the rest of the operational expenses for the 561 account January through current day, whatever that may be, and start continue to draw from those. So yeah, it's been working with Jamie. She's kind of helps us with grants and drawdowns, and we'll get this hopefully taken care of here. I'm still optimistic that within the next year or so, once the dust settles on the issuance of the CARES grants nationwide, that the FAA may look at some of the airports that have been issued these grants to redirect some of the funds towards capital projects. But we've got a long time before we have to make any decisions on that, or before the FAA has any more guidance on that. So that's really the update on that the CARES grant for right now. But it is accepted. The money is available for us to draw from, and we hope to have our first draw completed here in the next, maybe by the end of this week or first part of next week, if the FAA is ready to process it.
Out of curiosity, has that been a complicated process?
No.
Okay.
No, they really streamlined it. It's
Good.
worked out well. There's been a lot of media attention because of, Devil's Lake or some of these
Yeah.
smaller airports, but the FAA, after they made their announcements, had retrenched to limit airports to only 4 years of operating expenses. So the 16.8 that was at Devil's Lake actually will be significantly less than that. They've redistributed those funds to
Yep.
a number of other airports.
Good. Yeah, Mike?
Tim, I have a question for Sean. What does this do with our passenger facility charge now is way down, obviously. So just, is there any way of using any of this money for any of this?
Strictly to reimburse for operational expenses.
Just
So
operations.
when you look at, and I was going to cover this a little bit later when we talk
Okay.
about the budget, but
You can do that.
yeah,
later.
we'll chat about revenue projections for the
Yeah.
2021 budget.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. 8, receive update regarding NDPER's public safety plan.
All right, Stacy, you're online, so I'll let you give an update on that.
Good morning.
Morning.
So Eric Johnson and I had a conference call with an assistant attorney general last Tuesday morning to can these firefighters move from, let's call it Farborough, to this public safety plan? We didn't get an obvious answer, but I firmly believe the answer will come back yes. And then based upon an email string, and we have not had the opportunity to follow up with the dean, he meant to do that by Friday, and we didn't get an email. But from the email exchange I saw between Chief Bush and Jill at the city, I might just be on a turn, but I feel like that move will be made for at least the new incoming firefighters, that the ones that exist now will remain, and then those that are new hires will go into this public safety plan. Because as you know, we take the position that if a better plan is available, or a similarly situated plan, the firefighter should have the opportunity to select it. And then I guess we have our roundtable meeting with the city folks today at 2, I believe.
Correct.
Correct. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions? Comments, guys?
Timing on this one? When is all this gonna get completed?
I'm not sure. I
Not
guess
sure,
it's
yeah.
in your
It
hands.
probably give an update after today's meeting, which I believe Sean and Rick and I are at. Is that
And
right?
Stacy, yep.
And Stacy. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Stacy. Number
You're
9, receive update from ND Public Health Insurance Trust.
Okay, on May 4th, Joanna Drennan from North Dakota Public Health Insurance Trust had sent out an email basically indicating that it would be the final communication that interested parties would receive unless the entity has expressed interest in the program. I had a conversation with Mike Redlinger earlier this week or last week to see if the city had received any of this information. I forwarded this to him because there's a May 15th deadline in order to basically, how do you explain it, Joan or Rick, allow Hayes Corporation access to the Blue Cross Blue Shield health records for employees or the group, basically is what it is. And Mike had indicated that there's some type of comparison analysis going on either through their broker and or HR or something that might be presented later today to us to try and get an update on. But there is a May 15th deadline. We do have an interest. We have no idea what type of insurance is going to be as compared to what we have right now, but it's at least worth looking at. So either between the city and or Hayes companies, we'll hopefully find out some information here in the next few days.
Okay. Any questions? Comments? So this will be one of the other issues we're going to talk about.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's go to airport construction and security update.
Well, not a lot happening in construction, but I'll give you, in security-wise, it's been fairly quiet. So in April of 2020, we had 1,555 passengers that boarded aircraft in the month of April. That's down 95.6% versus April of 2019. Year-to-date, we're down 24.4%. So this trend is going to continue for some time. And just to give you an idea, as of right now, what we understand for the airline schedule, and Darren can pipe in if it's a little bit different, American Airlines is reduced to 1 flight per day to Chicago. They do not provide service on Tuesday or Saturday. They have dropped Dallas service because the 175 aircrafts they've redeployed in other locations. So we no longer have Dallas service for right now. United has dropped Chicago service because American's providing that, and they're providing about 1 Denver flight per day. Right now, there's some Saturday exceptions to this. Delta is 2 to 3 Minneapolis flights per day with some Saturday exceptions. Frontier is operating 1 Denver flight per week. That's usually, I think, a Friday operation. And Allegiant is providing 1 to 2 Mesa flights per week. They still have been taking reservations for Las Vegas, but I got a list yesterday. They pretty much canceled Vegas, Orlando, and Los Angeles through June. So they'll be concentrating on 1 to 2 flights a week to Mesa for the foreseeable future. So that's really the air service that we have right now. It probably will sustain through the summer months unless demand starts to come back. We'll start to see some additional flights added, but right now that really isn't the case. TSA screened, I think on May 10th, a little over 200,000 passengers, which was down 91% from same day in 2019. So they did surpass the 200,000 mark nationwide twice in the last few days. I didn't see yesterday's number, but there is a little bit of a trend for an uptick, and we'll see. So as restrictions in certain states are lifted, I think we'll start to see some of that traffic come back. There's optimism that once Vegas reopens, there's going to be a significant demand to head back to Vegas. We'll see if that's true. At least Allegiant believes so, and we can kind of go from there. One of the things that we're working on with AAE, American Association of Airport Executives, and the AAE staff working on with the FAA and Homeland Security is to set up some level of consistency amongst airports in terms of when you depart Fargo, once you get off the aircraft in Minneapolis or Denver or Chicago, there's some form of consistency that you see in terms of COVID type response, whether it's encouraging people to wear masks or they're requiring people to wear masks like they are in San Francisco and Houston. Washing your hands, doing all of these social distancing things just to remind the traveling public that once you get to this airport or depart from this airport coming into another one, there's some form of consistency. But the problem that they have is there's local, state jurisdictions that have implemented stricter requirements than maybe what other airports have done or other communities have done or other states have done. So we'll be sorting through that. The Pilots Association is working with the FAA right now, mandating that there's consistent cleaning techniques implemented, mandated by Congress for each of the airlines, so that the cockpit of the aircraft is cleaned in accordance. I don't know where that's going to go, but that kind of arose yesterday in terms of concerns from the Pilots Association and the disinfecting or cleaning of the cockpits to have a national standard. But we'll see. It's definitely going to be a challenge going forward. I don't know if you have any questions on that. I think that nationwide traffic was down, I think for the month of April, pretty consistently that 95 to 97% level nationwide. So we're pretty much on track with what we're seeing nationwide. Let's see. As far as aircraft rescue and firefighting employees, I've asked an outside firm, ADK, that we've used in the past to prepare a proposal to conduct a compensation study, survey for them based on similar size airports and maybe even a few within the region, even though that most of the airports in the region aren't really the same as ours. We're 24/7, we've got military, we've got cargo, we've got different size aircraft. We provide Index C fire coverage, and where other airports in the area are Index A or Index B. But ADK will be providing us a proposal we expect next week to start a compensation study for the aircraft rescue and firefighters, and we'll see what the results of that are. They're kind of known around the country as doing compensation studies, especially with airports. So once we get that proposal, I'll have that before you at the next board meeting. I believe it will be well under the cost of whatever. So if you have any input on that, or you want to get a proposal from someone else, we certainly can look at that. Once they have the study together, then we'll make a decision on whether or not they're justified for any adjustments in their compensation. It may be something that the airport PEC takes a look at, but it may not be necessary. We'll see where that goes. Okay, I think we just dropped offline, so...
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, is everybody still there? Can you hear us?
John Strand's there.
All right, we had a little glitch. Did it drop offline, or Stacy, did it drop off, or John
That's
Strand?
also live.
It's still live?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
see you.
Okay. So, so I don't know, for Commissioner Strand or Mayor Mahoney, that you talked about an Arff survey. So we've like I say, we've in the initial stages of gathering some information from a firm, and we'll see where that goes. As far as the 2021 budget prep, we'll start that process here in the next week or so. You may have to think about the possibility of additional mill. We have 2 mills right now. We're allowed 4 under the state statute. And the reason possibly for a mill increase is because of the lost PFC revenue. So we had over $2 million in PFC revenue, or approximately $2 million in PFC revenue in 2019, which is funds that we received from the airlines to pay ourselves back for projects that have been completed. So if we look at a passenger traffic down about 96% in April, what's it going to be over the next few months and into next year? We may have about $200,000 in total PFC revenue in calendar year 2021.
Instead of 2 million.
Instead of about 2 million. I don't know, if you have any other guests, let me know, but when we look at Delta and some of the carriers hoping to carry 40 to 50% of the traffic this coming Christmas, as they did in the previous Christmas timeframe, you can kind of make some analysis that our PFC revenues are going to be down significantly. So do we make that up with an additional mill? That's I guess, food for conversation. Car rental revenue in 2019 was over 1.2 million. Well, right now we got a check from Hertz for like $2,000. So they have a minimum annual guarantee that's currently $65,000. You take that times the 5 agencies, we could have car rental revenue if we maintain the minimum annual guarantee of about $325,000 next year, as opposed to the 1.2 million. Parking revenue was 3.2 million, or just over that in 2019. We could be around a total of about 200,000. And SP Plus, I think Republic, there's other parking companies that are looking at changing. There are agreements at airports that have concession contracts. We had a minimum annual guarantee of 2.7 million. We decided to waive that due to COVID. So now we're just getting a straight percentage of the revenue that's generated. We believe that parking companies are going to come back to airports and change those to management contracts, which basically is we assume all the expenses, but we get all the revenue. We pay them a fee basically to manage the lot. Now that would qualify for CARES funds if we were to do that scenario, but that's a discussion that is underway with SP Plus and other airports around the country.
That's
going back to
what's
the
the long-term
management contract.
ramifications on that?
It could be set up to be a 12-month with a review to see if traffic returns. It could be a temporary agreement versus the concession agreement that we have right now, but we'll see where that conversation goes. So you can see on the revenue side, it's going to be pretty bleak. As we look at the cargo apron project, Jeff is putting together a cash outflow for us, and the funds are in place for the cargo apron, so I'm not concerned about that. But what do we budget for next year? Any surplus entitlements that we may have? As you can understand, the Aviation Trust Fund, which supports the airport improvement program, there aren't a lot of revenues coming into that with 200-some thousand passengers a day. So the ticket tax, when you purchase a ticket, 7.5% of that value is collected by the airlines and sent into the trust fund, and then the DOT, FAA returns that to airports in the form of entitlements. But we typically get about $3 million per year in entitlements based on their current passenger loads. Well, due to the lack of funds, unless Congress takes action to do an additional supplemental bill on top of the $10 billion that we got in CARES right now, I don't believe that there's going to be any significant funds available in the AIP process unless Congress finds additional funds outside of the traditional funding mechanism for the Aviation Trust Fund. As passenger boardings stay down, the 7.5% tax that's going into there is going to be dismal. So there's going to be a lot of challenges going forward, but thankfully the CARES funds will help us to at least break even on the operational side.
What percentage of your operating expenses, or what percent of total revenue?
Well, last year we did about $7 million in total revenue, and our operational expenses were about 4 and change. So
okay. So what you're talking about is declining revenues with offsets from the grant monies, so that the operational cash flow is still going to be pretty positive at this point.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So I mean, thankfully we're going to be okay.
And I don't know what the directive is going to be to try and track that on a consistent basis to try and figure out what that looks like, but it'll and especially the new guy coming on, it's trying to figure out what historically it looks like and how it moves forward that way.
And I've implemented, I guess, for as long as I've been here, just doing zero-based budgeting, and for every dollar that comes in, what do we do with it? Do we save it? How do we spend it? And cover those things. Looking at the possibility of, do we do a 1.5% to 3% COLA? I don't know what the cost of living is. That's probably maybe not in line with COVID right now for any cost of living, but we'd have to budget for something in that line. What are insurance rates going to do? No one seems to have an answer on that at this point. And really, for us to budget at this time, the cycle of the budget cycle is such that you know, at this time last year, we were trying to figure out what the 2020 budget was going to be for our construction account. It wasn't until just a few days ago that we actually knew what the numbers were going to be. So trying to guess right now what the FA or DOT are going to do on our construction side is a pure guess. We just do it based on historical purposes. We won't have any big projects planned for 2021 other than finishing the cargo waiver, and that'll be the biggest thing, and anything that may be left over for the snow removal equipment building. Once the cargo apron is done and we get into the fall, winter of 2021, I think the staff is hopefully going to try and seek some additional loaders with large snow buckets on the front. They seem to be the most efficient in clearing ramps and apron areas, and probably adding 1 to 2 more staff to just come and help us during snow removal. So we'll have some of that stuff in the budget, but we'll need some additional equipment. There's no doubt for the ramp, and probably be looking at putting some of that in the budget for early 2021 to have it delivered in time for the late 2021 snow removal season.
Back to what John was asking about, we have the $21,637,515 in CARES expenses, or CARES funds that we can use over 4 years for operational expenses, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right. So in our 4-year average is a little over 17 million, our operational expenses if we average it over 4 years. And the data that they took this from is our 2018, it's called Form 127. You can all look it up online, 126. Every year airports have to report their expenses and revenues into this database. So all of the data is based on 2018 and the previous 4 years, if you look at our average. So there's going to be some cushion there in terms of what we may have left at the end of this. We may not spend that entire 21.6 million. So we'll see.
And any of those loaders or anything like that, can that get paid for as operational expenses?
Considered capital. Yeah, so those are the things that we're hoping as the dust settles with all the CARES grants issuance, we can come back to the FAA and maybe amend or redirect some of these funds towards that.
Good idea.
But we'll work with them. So outside of that, I don't have anything else to report. I think Rick Flaxbarth, are you still on? I see Rick's picture there. Rick represents us in the East Terminal, and Vox Telesys has given us notice that their last day in the terminal will be June 30th. And if I recall correctly, if the space is leased within a 30-day period after their vacate date, we committed to them $5,000 for some of the improvements that they made to that space, if you recall that conversation. So we'll start the clock and go from there. Rick,
I believe that's correct.
right. We also have had a number of conversations with Chris Menz, who's kind of a regional administrator with the FAA in terms of tech facilities here for all the nav aids in the area. He has a desire to lease like a 192 square foot office, and FAA real estate is just like non-existent to engage us to get that done. This has been going on for like 6 months. So Rick, I don't know if you have any update on the FAA with their lease?
No, Chris told me that he was still waiting to hear from his real estate people, but he has got no answer at all.
Okay. Do you have any interest in the Vox Telesys space right now, Rick?
Showed it last week. The people that looked at it said it might be too small for them, but they're still considering it.
All right. Then one other thing I think is everyone notices when you turn off 19th Avenue North at Dakota Drive, the vacant farmstead to the west there, all the trees came down. So Rick, you're kind of involved in that process. Do you want to give us an update on what's happening there?
Sure. In order to clear the property, we had to clear the trees first. So we had hired Cougar Tree Service to go in and do that. We're having a phase 2 study completed. So they went in and Northern Technology did some soil boring samples. We're hoping to get those results back here soon. And then we have a company hired to clear the property, take all the tree stumps out, and it will be bare soil soon.
Wow.
Okay, good. Looked like there was a rummage sale down there over the weekend. There's people down there.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, there's people just driving into there, and looked like they were going through the buildings, but
Wow.
I didn't drive in there. I thought maybe that they were directed to do so, but yeah, it looks like there's a rummage sale going on. Anyway, I don't have
Yeah,
anything else.
we've talked about trying to put up a gate or put up a chain at the driveway to prevent traffic from getting in there.
All right.
Sounds good. Thank you, Rick. Mike?
I got one question on farmland, because farm income is down. Have we gotten any pressure from those people who rent our cropland to lower prices yet?
No, we haven't. We have one more crop year in the 3-year extension that we gave, so the 2021 crop year, and both have indicated interest in doing so. We do have some drainage issues on the area west of Drain 10, south of County Road 20, or in the area of the new Operational Readiness Center that we'll try and help to resolve with them. I think the guard thing kind of hampered some of the drainage of that farm field there. They did get all the corn combined north of here just in the last week or so, finally. Now they've got a bunch of stocks. They wanted to burn it, but I advised them that probably wouldn't be a good idea because of all the residential areas in the area. So I'm not really sure what they're going to do out there. It's really kind of a mess. I've got the same thing on our farm back home, corn stalks that we don't know what
See,
to do
we
with.
still have soybeans out here too.
And soybeans that weren't harvested. So, but I think they're all interested in extending that. Maybe some of this property we got to look at tiling, maybe. I don't know, to help the drainage situation. Might not be a bad idea. You get a lot more for tiled land than you do non-tiled land. Chief Bush, are you on? I don't know if he joined us. He wasn't. I was having to give him an update. So we instead of having you want to talk about the emergency exercise? We aren't having one, but we're having a virtual. What's happening?
Well, that requires an emergency exercise every year, and this year, because of the COVID stuff, they decided to just do a emergency plan review. So Chief Bush put together this documentation, sent it to all the mutual aid responders in the area, and they're given 30 days to review our plan, make any changes, and then get back, and then just certify that they reviewed the plan, and that will suffice the FAA for this year. So.
Good. Anything else? Anything else? Any members?
Questions?
All right, hearing none, meeting will be adjourned for today.